ain't over. Because I've read in the Bible that there's been some men and women in the Bible that should have thrown in the towel. They should have gave up because the situation looked like it was not going to make it. But because I know my God, and he's no respecter of person, whatever he did for them, he can surely do for us. And so in Luke chapter 7, verses 11 through 15, it says, now what happened? The day after that he went, they called names. And many of his disciples went with him, and a large crowd. And when he came near the gate of the city, behold, a dead man was being carried out, the only son of the mother, and she was a widow. And a large crowd from the city was with her. And when the Lord saw her, he had compassion. And he said, don't weep. Then he came up and touched the coffin, and those who carried him stood still. And he said, young man, I say to you, arise. And so he was dead, sat up, and began to speak. And he presented him. I want to come at it from a couple of angles because I'm pretty sure the widow mother felt like she was at her end because now she had no husband and she had no son. And the son that she had, she's now walking beside the casket as they're taking him to bury him. And it's something about God that at some point I know she said to herself, it's nothing left for me. It's nothing left for me to fight for. There's nothing else that I can do. I'm just going to go somewhere and give up. But no matter in the battle, she understood. See, it wasn't called on Jesus, but Jesus knew that she had a need. Jesus knew that she had a situation that was her that would mess up her life because as a widow, she couldn't go out and work. And they always had children. But Jesus said to the mother, he said, don't weep. Oh, what's in the coffin is dead. But I am Jesus. I am the one that will be able to do the impossible. And what I loved about Jesus is when he touched it stood still. Because I come here to tell you today that some people have already buried you. Some people have already said that you are not going to make it. Some people are already going to say you're not good enough. And what Jesus did when he touched the coffin, the thing that they carried the dead body in, they had to stand still. And so that's for some of you, that they may be carrying you, may be throwing dirt on you, they may be telling you that you're not good enough. Oh, and touch. They have to stand still. All the things that they're saying about, shut their mouth. Their mouths have to stand still. Because when Jesus walks in, it does not matter. And what I love, Jesus never touched what was dead. The dead body. Because he said, because I have power, the power that I carry, that when I lay my hand upon the coffin, it's saturated enough that anything that's in it, anything around it, anything that's near it is going to rise, because not only did the man get up in the coffin, but the mother's now, the dead part of her life now rose up. The ones who was walking with her that couldn't believe that this was happening now understand that this Messiah, this Jesus, has some type of power. So it came on all sides, just like when Jesus touched the coffin. I told you there's so many people in the Bible, because I want you to know that though they slay you, yet will we trust them. Do I have any yet people in the house? Do I have any yet people that said that even though my situation don't look good, yet he's still God? Oh, when the body is wrecked with pain, you're now saying, yet he's Jehovah Jireh. Do I have any yet people in the house? Because when you understand who God is, when you understand what God can do, when you understand whose you are and whose you are, then you will understand that if God be for me, then who can be against me? And see, the woman understood in. So I'm sure if we had a meeting with her and we asked her, what did you do? How was you going to make it? She said, I thought it was all done. I thought I couldn't make it, but now I'm going to tell you that it ain't over. Oh, it may look like it's dead, but it ain't over. And then we're going to move over to the woman with the issue of blood. And I know many of you know the woman with the issue of blood that dealt with the situation for 12 long years. And she gave out everything to get healed. And how many of us have given to people and we're still in the same situation? How many of us have sown and prayed and laid before God, but yet there's times when we feel like we're all alone. And that's what that woman found herself, in a place where everything around her had been taken away because she was bleeding. And in the bleeding, she was now unclean. And everything around her was unclean. So whatever she touched, wherever she sat, it became unclean. But I know a man named Jesus, that even though it may appear that I'm not good enough, I can't do it, all you have to do is touch the hem of his garment. And see, the women, the people was around him, and the people was thronging him. In other words, they was crushing him. And this woman touched the hem of his garment. This woman got pretty low. And how many of us have been in a time when we've been pretty low? Oh, where it seems like we're crawling to the altar, where it seems like we're crawling to get to Jesus. Oh, but one thing she said to herself, if I just touch the hem of his garment, I shall be made whole. And sometimes we have to speak those things that be not as though they were. She didn't know, because there was nothing written in the books. There was nothing written in the scrolls that said, if you touch the Messiah, that you will be made whole. But her faith understood that this is do or die. I can't take it no more. I done heard of this man named Jesus, because we know that faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. And so she heard that this man was able to heal. She heard that this man was able to deliver. She heard that this man would be able to take care of what she was dealing with. And so she moved in faith, because the name of the conference, fire. And see, it's something about when you have faith and you move in God, that there's a burning that goes on the inside. It sometimes feels like fire that's shut up in your bones, because you know that God is going to do it. You know that God is going to make a way. You may not know when it's going to happen, but we know that God is going to do it. And so as the woman touched Jesus, she got healed. But then she fell before him, and she worshiped. She told him everything. She laid before him. She told him everything that was going on. Because even though she touched him, and even though immediately she was healed, she could have been stoned to death. So she told God about a problem. And sometimes when we go before God, we find ourselves not really wanting to tell him the whole problem. We don't want to tell him everything that's going on, because, and even though God knows everything that's going on, we are hesitant to tell him about the issues. We're hesitant to tell him about the mistakes. We're hesitant to tell him about how we might have messed up. She was healed immediately. It wasn't until she got before Jesus that she became whole. And not just her body was healed, her whole situation was whole. So everything, remember, she had nothing. She had no. Because Jesus said, now you have been made whole, guess what? In that wholeness, she got a family back. In that wholeness, her finances started coming back. In that wholeness, she was able to now have friends. So I don't know what you've been dealing with, but I know who God is in my life. And I'm not standing before you telling you something that I haven't gone through myself, because there's been times where I felt like the woman with the issue of blood. There was times where I felt like the mother who had lost everything, and it had to be buried. So how it is when you don't have anything else but Jesus. And when you understand that it ain't, I remember as they was reading my bio, they told you that I deployed to Somalia. But when I deployed to Somalia, I didn't know who. I deployed to Somalia. I didn't understand what it is. I didn't know anything about Jesus. I didn't know anything about the disciples. I didn't know anything about church because I'd never been to church. But I was in the army, and now I was in Somalia. But I went to go to the restroom in the middle of the night. As I was walking through the corridor, there was somebody called my name. And I turned around to see who called my name. Nobody was there. And I stood there for a moment, and I looked around, and I realized that nobody was there. But somebody called my name. When I turned to go to the porta potty, the porta john outside, it blew up. So had Jesus not called my name, had he not stopped me when he stopped me, I wouldn't be here today standing before you telling you how good Jesus is. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't even be here. So I want you to know that he knows your name. Oh, he knows your name. Even if you don't know him the way that you think you should know him, he knows your name. And just continue to hold on because it ain't over. When you're walking through a situation, because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was about to happen. I didn't know. All I knew that I was 19 years old, had just joined the military, and they've separated me from family, and they've moved me from a whole nother country. And I'm walking around as the only female assigned to that unit. But God knew my name. God saw me. And so I stand here today to let you know, because even through that time, and even through me getting to know, and even through my trials and my tribulations, and even through the depression, and even through the pain, God has always been there. Even when I want to give up and throw in the towel, God was there. Oh, and I know you said, well, Minister LaTorsha, you're saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. Tell you, there was times when I was so that I wanted to commit suicide. There was times, and this is when I knew God, and this is when I called God's name, and yet I was still in a place where I wanted to commit suicide because I didn't know if I was coming or going. I didn't know how to make my ends meet. I didn't know how to make my finances work for me, and so I realized that maybe it's better if I just ended my life. Because in the military, they would have taken care of my daughter, would have taken care of my mother. And see, that does paint a picture and make it look like it's so pretty. Because had I did not, what I love about God is, 2 days before I was about to commit suicide, I ran into a pastor who gave me a, and I took the card and I put it on my kitchen table. And then I realized that when I had the knife in my hand, about to slit my wrist, I looked to the table and I saw the call. And I called the pastor, tears running down my face. And she said, baby, how a revival going on? And come see. And I got dressed, got my baby dressed. Because I didn't even think about killing what would happen if my daughter walked in the room and saw me laying in the kitchen floor with blood coming out of my wrist. I didn't think about any of that. All I thought about was how bad my situation appeared to be at that time. But then when I got myself together and I got my baby together, I was able to now go into the church where they was having revival. And the pastor later and said, it's all right. She said, just hold on a little bit longer. Just trust God a little bit longer. Just know that you're not by yourself, because many times we feel like we're all alone. But God said, I would never leave you nor forsake. He said, I would never leave you nor forsake. And what I love about God is no matter where, you can be Zacchaeus up in the sycamore tree. You could be the woman with the issue of blood going through a crowd of people. You can be Peter, who denied him 3 times. Be the one that feels like everything is going wrong. I'll show up and show out. God will always let you know that you don't have to worry about it. Because I'm sure if we talk to the woman with the issue of blood, she will be able to tell us that I thought it was over, but it ain't over, because now my life is better. Now my situation is better. Now my circumstance is better. When I was all by myself, in a place where nobody loved me, now I'm in a place where I have joy unspeakable. I'm in a place now that I have a joy. So in closing, I want to talk to you about one, because we need to understand that sometimes here, like you're buried, the stone has already been removed. But Jesus, did I not say to you in John 11:40-50, Jesus said to her, did I not say to you that if you will believe, see the glory of God? There's faith in fire. And when you have faith, you understand that if you pray and you believe, you shall receive. And so Jesus called out to Lazarus. In 44, he said, now he said that these things, cried out in a loud voice, Lazarus. And he who had died came out of bonds and came out, bound hand and foot, in grave clothes. And his face was wrapped with a cloth. And Jesus says, loose him and let him